It's impossible to find a perfect parallel for end-of-career Aaron Rodgers amid the constellation of future Hall of Fame quarterbacks who have changed teams at the end of their rope. Joe Montana's arrival in Kansas City, for example, was celebrated like the moon landing. Had Tom Brady not arrived in Tampa during the earliest days of a pandemic, one would assume that he too would have been carted through town in something reminiscent of the Pope-mobile. Perhaps Rodgers' moment was 2 years ago. By design, or not, he was more catered to by a New York Jets franchise drastically trying to erase its past at the position than a teenager at the Apple Store. But over the past 6 months, he has been publicly subjected to reports that his own owner wanted him benched. He was also, depending on how you read the situation, put on the back burner by his possible preferred destination in Minnesota. And now, Rodgers has signed with a team whose most notable veteran, Cameron Hayward, publicly eschewed the idea of having to recruit Rodgers in March, saying, "Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't." Hayward has since clarified his remarks to take a bit of the teeth out of them. Such is the energy that greets a quarterback at the end of his Hall of Fame career. As I've pointed out, if nothing else, this is a forum for Rodgers to solidify a statistical legacy. He is 6 touchdown passes away from 4th all-time. He is 37 away from 3rd all-time, which is certainly possible if Rodgers decides to remain in Pittsburgh for more than 1 season. He is fewer than 1,200 yards away from eclipsing both Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger, which would lock him into 5th place all-time. More than that, though, Rodgers has an interesting opportunity, should he actually want it, to soften his outside perception before walking off into the sunset, a quest not aided by the timing of his deal, meant to sync up with the end of the Steelers' voluntary offseason activities. The Steelers, more than any of Rodgers' other suitors, are going to eventually force him to fall in line. I'll clarify what I mean by that below, because I think many people are mostly getting it wrong. And while I have said time and time again that the general public perception and the inside football perception of Rodgers are dramatically different, this is the first time in Rodgers' career that he will be in a place that does not require him and may actively dissuade him from setting the cultural agenda. It's a place that is going to expect him to play physically, to swallow the blame exclusively, and actively avoid any of those nebulous post-game moments that Rodgers likes to orchestrate, allowing him to point fingers while, at the same time, maintaining an arm's length from criticism. Following the post-Brett Favre era in Green Bay, Rodgers has consistently been the most coveted, discussed, and sought-after player everywhere he's gone. In Pittsburgh, he may end up being the 3rd or 4th most popular player on his own team, and certainly down the list in terms of beloved figures who have formed the foundation of this franchise's seemingly endless stretch of winning seasons. This remains true even though the Steelers allowed Rodgers to very publicly meander his way onto the roster officially and did not draft a quarterback high up to buttress themselves from possible embarrassment had Rodgers changed his mind about playing there in 2025. In Pittsburgh, he will also exist in more of a functioning autocracy than a democratic marketplace of ideas. I don't want people to get that confused with Rodgers being muzzled. Certainly, Mike Tomlin has dealt with countless players on his roster who have behaved bizarrely, acted irrationally, or stood out in terms of not being considered your typical NFL model citizen. That was especially true at the quarterback position for a majority of his tenure. I don't think Rodgers will have to cease appearing on his television programs or podcasts of choice. But I do think that Rodgers' match here is fortuitous for a player who may end up wanting a broader set of post-career options than internet provocateur. Unlike a Packers team that, over time, capitulated to both his best and worst impulses, and a Jets team that remade the organization entirely to maximize his skill set, Pittsburgh offers the chance to punch the clock and, with that, perhaps a chance to blunt some of his more disagreeable impulses. Clearly, Rodgers did not have to sign with Pittsburgh. After the Minnesota Vikings committed fully to J.J. McCarthy, for spring ball at least, the rest of his life opened up before his eyes. Island getaways, media opportunities, political opportunities, you name it. The Steelers, even with Rodgers, wouldn't markedly change the conversation in the AFC North, and it's hard to imagine them being seriously considered a Super Bowl contender. I would assume that Rodgers' pecking order of possible destinations confirms as much. But he does want something out of the Steelers in return for capable quarterback play. It's going to be worth our time figuring out exactly what that is in 2025.